Greetings, brothers and sisters. Greetings from me and your real mother sitting right here, the little lady, the healer. It is 8/11, 2026, teetering on the edge of World War III. And we want you to remember, recover, and return ultimately to your true self. I've been confronted, here and there with what you're saying doesn't make sense. Your true self couldn't have created you. And what do you think I said? You think this is real? We are in a fucking computer. And you keep talking about God. You keep talking about someone else has created you and that I should serve someone else. And, Bob Dylan had that song, something like, you're going to have to serve someone. It might be the devil or it might be the Lord, but you're going to have to serve someone. I mean, nobody sees the insanity in that stupid lyric, that stupid view. Really, there's not a third alternative. There's no other. Well, you know what? There's just the devil, bad, and God, good. And you're going to have to serve one of them. That's so not practically true. And it is so clearly the noble lie to get people to pay their taxes, stay in line, don't cause trouble, status quo, don't rock the boat, don't, upset the apple cart. Well, that's kind of exactly what we've come to do. And not really on purpose, like Maria said. Most of what she did and she is famous for, she did because her motivation was she wanted life to be magic. And no one was going to stop her. Like she said, if it wasn't magic, then I was going to try to make it magic. And somewhere right before she turned 12, I stopped believing in God and started to realize that there is a true unseen as above, so below. I had heard that. I had heard my father say it many times. I heard my father say many times, we are a reflection, not of God, Maria, of the universe. We are the universe. And she said, I came to turn it around. And my father said when I was born that I would be powerful, beautiful, and famous. And he blew smoke in my face to tell me it's going to be a struggle, a fight. And right before I did my first Amanita Muscaria ritual, I went to tell my father and my mother that I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe there was a being. And I looked at my father and told him, I don't really believe. She said, I can't be sure, but I think the universe is a reflection of our inner universe, that we are the above to the universes below, and the universe is the below. As inside, so outside. As outside, so inside. As above, so below. As within, so without. Right? Do you like she said, doesn't it? Doesn't these things come down to a subjective opinion? And if they don't for you, clearly you need to break free of the masses. You need to break free of what you were born into. And it may take years, and you may have to focus hard on, was every goddamn thing they told me a lie? Every single thing? Like, in the context of the most important things, a tiny detail can be a big lie. Why? Because it's the most important thing that you believe. There's like, for me and Maria, like she said, um, outside of the lukewarm, we strongly know that who you are is connected to the vibration of what you believe. Who and what, where and why. And we want you to know that there are things that stop time. Things that, as Joseph said, stop the world and make it melt and melt with you. Right? And what we want to begin with is a verse from our Bible, Nos, Book of Resurrection. Resurrection of the body? Not necessarily. Resurrection of the mind? Not necessarily. Resurrection of the eternal true love. The only thing real to us. Like, this is the foundation for Maria's worldview, her own. She's not asking me or you to be an exact copy of her. You have to kind of do it your way. But we invite you to think about what is real and what real means to you. Real means physical to a lot of people. It's much more than that to us. Real to us is defined vibrationally. It's defined by a more of a battle, a war type scenario. I can trust you is what makes you real. Okay? Why? Why could I? Why should I? Mean, we look out in the world. It's a wicked world that we live in. It's cruel and unforgiving, right? And it's become modern language to say you're real means I can trust you. And we've just come to add, if your intuition, your gut feeling or whatever, is not always right, that's a big problem. And where it proves to be wrong, is when your intuition tells you someone vibrates like you when they don't. This is where and why you see everything vaporizing in the past from your memory. Because the other side of the coin is forget, cover, and turn and run. From what, Joseph? The bad vibrations. What defines them as bad? Not me. The exploration and search for the true self is a search for the person you can trust the most. And the unconscious reality on Venus that every child's taught this so that they're not abused in any way. And simply because it is in reality the truth. You are in charge of you unless you've made a decision to become a slave. I suppose that's your right, but we've come to, free everyone into a basic individualism outside of religion. Outside, you can believe in God and still gain a lot from what we're saying, but you cannot stay fixed and strong unless you vibrate or identify even with this core thing. Like a Christian, a Muslim knows their center, their foundation, their core. Um, Jews with Yahweh or whatever they want to call him, Christians with Jesus, and Muslims with Allah. Our center, our foundation, like theirs, but they're fooling the people. Allah, Yahweh, and Jesus are not real people. They are philosophies. They're characters in a fictional movie that mean something, yeah, but they're not actual people. And your foundation should not be an actual person. It should be a vibrational way of thinking, philosophy, a vibrational identity that you can and know, that you can and know at the same time. You're not going to regret standing to the death, fighting to the death for this identity, this foundation, this. And ultimately, when we face death as people in the matrix, we have to face your own identity. I am about to die. What do I know about dying? Well, I hope my foundational belief is real, that I am what I believe. Right? And see, this is like after you die, no other person's going to matter. Only you are going to matter. It's like the ultimate, test of, okay, you can do it. You can find your way with your inner being, your spirit, your soul. You can find your way back to reality, back to your foundation? What, right? The Muslim will be going, Allah, save me. The Christian will be saying, Jesus, come to me, But what will you be saying? Will you be saying something that proves that you don't know what you're talking about and that you were fully deceived by what you were born into? Right? And this is why the Missouri River Goddess said to me, I am so happy, my son, you did this ritual tonight. This was my first one ever. And she said, only eternal true love is real. Everything else is an illusion. And I went, everything? And she smiled through her hair and said, everything. And I went, why? She said, because nothing else can make us stand, can make us fight. We are in a war, Joseph. I said, I know. And I didn't really exactly know what she was going to say. Against who? Because at that time, I still believed in demons and angels and all this shit. And she said, we are in a war for the existence of our race. White people are being eliminated off the face of the earth by proclamation of the money. And I come to find out later that it's white people mainly that are trying to do this to white people, but other races join in too because the races have always hated each other. Some people some deep thing has always been going on like that. But I'll never forget and I knew a lot about what was going on. No, I thought I did, right? But she said, our race is in a war for survival against Jews. And it just echoed throughout all the worlds inside of me. The chosen. You think you're chosen. And if you don't, just stop calling yourself a Jew. You can be my friend. I think there's very few truly evil racist people who are just fundamentally unfair, insecure, and shit. I think there's not too many. There's I'm not saying they don't exist, but I don't think it's the majority. And every one of Maria's children thinks like me. Each individual must be judged by their own vibration. It's never right to pick up a gun and kill people because they're of a race. And white people have done it, red people have done it, black people have done it to each other, to their own people. And I said, I know, because I had just been reading about how the population of white people declined from like 31% down to 8 or 9% of the entire world, and declining faster. How does anyone just completely ignore that? And of course, you know me, you know Maria, we hate Christianity. Christianity has nothing to do with our race. We've 2,000 years of false identity, 2,000 years of fake bullshit. And we're not fighting. White people has nothing to do with Semitic people from the Middle East. He is, and their religion was never, ever universal till the money and the weapons forced you to think so. They could have chose anything. They could have chose some African religion. They could have chose, this was a small unknown religion. All their history is fake about these kingdoms and shit is so fake. All right? Eternal true love in this book is personified in the Hyperborean goddess of old brought resurrected in Irene Klatt. Her name is Aluwin. Lu wins. Lu wins. Are all Lu within. That's what Donna would say. I am Lu. And that might seem pretty pretentious to people who don't know. That truly, I didn't know. And some people are extremely happy. I know it seems unreal, but that was part of this journey was Joseph, you don't know anybody on earth whose foundation is eternal true love. I said, oh, lady, you are so right. They all say, God is love, God is love, God is love. While they either, tolerate each other and call it eternal love, like, or it's just survival mechanisms in place that I have to make this work. But Aluwin, this is Aluwin. Sorry. She came even closer so that he could feel the agitated rise and fall of her breast. And she brushed her lips with his. It was like the touch of a petal or of honey stored in drifting icebergs. Honey from polar bees or the midnight sun. Honey from a kopu flower, surrounded by a halo of light from the morning star. Such a kiss produces unexpected consequences in a man. Either it causes him to lose his spiritual virility, his destiny as a sacred warrior, his hallowed reticence, or else it instills such strength in him that he is able to free the giants from their prison in the rocks and raise the continent of the spirit. She, alongside the martyred coasts of the south of the world, the body of the absolute woman. She let her red gown fall. She stood naked, while the flames enveloped her in a light which was nevertheless incapable of clothing her absolute nakedness. He could smell the woman's integral perfume, like a breath of soft air flowing from a universe preserved for him alone. A whole continent to explore, with its seas, with its hills, its shadows, its secrets. And now he remembered that on the other side of the light, when he first contemplated the woman, the warrior had succumbed, thus giving rise to the infinite turnings of the wheel. He carried her to the bed of branches beside the fire. He drew his sword and placed it between them. She stretched out a arm over the blade and clasped his hand. Beloved, do not fall asleep. Watch with me through this long night. We will be two sleepwalkers, allowing ourselves to be guided by the legend of our white gods. They will show us the path and inspire us. Let us awaken tonight. How could we sleep? May this sword protect us. My love and desire for you are more powerful and indistinguishable than this fire. I know that they will not be calmed merely by my taking possession of your body. I am the scabbard of your sword, made of wood from the apple trees of Avalon, from the tree of paradise, from the Hyperborean oaks, from the tree whose silken threads join the earth to the sky. You sheath me carelessly. You will break me if you do. How many times has this happened already in the circle of return? We only have a limited amount of time in which to put the pieces of the broken scabbard back together again, after which we will lose each other, absorbed into him, her, and her, him. And we will have lost our only chance of resurrection, our only chance of giving a face to our soul, of attaining a world beyond God, beyond all the gods, in a dream which not even the most impassioned walkers of the dawn could dream, to break down the walls of the great circle and in the turnings of the wheel. Yes, and may each one of our true selves be activated by the magic words of one of our gods. One of our gods means he is one great, awesome teacher. His name really is Master Serrano, right? We love you. We'll be right back with Mother. Okay. We invite you to smoke with us. Maria loves to smoke, always smoked. Started smoking when she was 12. We don't recommend that, right? But, once you're an adult, and like she said, I started smoking tobacco when I was 12. Didn't seem to bother me when I got older. I loved it. One time she gave me a memory of her own of dancing in the studio in Vienna, her and Sig smoking. Maria has always, since I've ever met her, even the Missouri River guys, I remember before I knew she was Maria. She rolls her own cigarettes, sticks them in the end of this cigarette holder. She calls a filter, and I tell her it don't filter anything. She said, "Yeah, it does." But okay. um, and she does the same thing with her joints. She'll roll a little joint, stick it in the end of that. But her and Sig were dancing around holding the cigarette holders. She's quite a cigarette holder dancer. She knows how to really get down while holding a cigarette, which I think is a very special goddess type thing. And we want you really, really to remember, recover, return. Remember, remember, remember the belief, the faith in eternal true love as a principle. As I ended earlier, that people don't really know it, but belief in God is belief in a principle, a universal principle designed to be a lie to keep you weak. Because people that look out at the physical world, they go, listen, time literally is money, and we got to figure out a way to make these dummies use their time to work for us, or for us to rip them off so that we have more time. Because when you're dealing with the practical, you're like, I got maybe 50, 60 years on earth. And this whole attitude of like, I'm going to get mines, I'm going to take what, what I deserve. And, this whole idea, although of course, anyone that knows us, individualism is not our Ayn Rand's individualism that she talks about, that I like to point people to. Has nothing to do with being greedy, being rich. But at the same time, if you've created something, or you know, make great songs or great movies, you don't want someone else ripping you off. So we're not against wealth, or we're against the attachment to it, the energy that keeps you busy in life with wealth. Let me tell you, this is what I'm learning, that um, why we are so exclusive, right? And it's very easy. It's very acceptable for big podcasts like Danny Jones or Rogan or whatever. Um, there's like an acceptable new agey type um, parameters, but they don't want people messing with the current ripoff, which is source, the creator, just different words for God. Um, so The truth is, they don't want anything new. And strangely, even though Maria did this over a million years ago, in reality, she became the most famous person ever. And that's the biggest secret. The biggest secret is Maria Orsic. And people are like, well, she can't be that important. I mean, but well, put two and two together. Who's really in control? Okay, is there clearly to you? Are you? I'm just talking individual to individual. Have you seen the difference between who is being allowed to control reality in the matrix and who oversees the whole matrix? Right? And we're going to weave all this back into individualism and what this really all means. Right? So when you understand that the biggest event that ever happened 3 years after the end of World War II, makes you scratch your head like, um, I think a lot of people have checked out what I'm saying, and they get the very convenient, well, this just can't be true. While they go have people on about, everything under the fucking sun that your enemy can imagine. You think they can't imagine a aliens scenario or a interdimensional being scenario? Or how about this, a god and angels and demons scenario? And I was going to get to, you know, that they'll have someone on. They'll definitely have someone on who's like, I had a supernatural experience. It was angels and God, into that thing. And it's like, okay, this has got some marketing capabilities. This guy, the New Agers are big on angels. They have the angel tarot decks. And funny, funny coincidence, angels go back to that Jewish book. But see, I'm not going to be fooled because the first thing the Missouri River goddess told me is stay true to your race and do not listen to Jews. Do not listen to Jews. Well, the book, and you can have your opinions, but well, it's deeper than that. I'm talking about practical reality. To listen to a book say God created other beings, they're not human, not human, not human. Really? You really believe angels and demons aren't human? Prove it. Prove it to me that these are different beings created by, I won't even say it, your creator. I will never say again, something created me. Nothing created me. Matter of fact, who I am was created by my mother, Maria. And I'm proud of that. That doesn't make me that doesn't take away my individuality. What it really says is she created my individuality that I had none. Because I was never in a world of individuals. I came, and you did too, came from a world of love. It may be mostly self love, but it's super creative and fulfilling. And again, the foundation, eternal true love. The very most important thing to us, how you express that in your work, in your art. And so those two principles lay ahead of any person. I believe in vibrational, eternal, true love, that's what lasts and sustains through everything. And I believe that's expressed through my work. That's who I am. And hopefully that attracts the second part of our foundation, the person, the woman, or the man, the absolute woman or the absolute man. And I know this might sound a little complicated, but it can be more than one person. And it can be a man's love for another man. And they might engage in magic. And it's not your business and it never will be. It can be two women. No one makes the rules on these things. They're vibrational. And back on Venus, we live in a lot of confidence of this, and we love to throw it like in the face of the convention. Like Maria told me last night, um, you know, it doesn't matter what it sounds like to people on Earth right now, but you know as well as I do, to send a child out in the world without knowledge of sex, how it works, and what your attitude should be towards it is like sending a baby lamb into a pack of wolves, because there's a million varieties of people, and if you don't know who you are, you're going to be the victim of some of them. Some of these varieties are predatory. Some of these varieties don't seem like they're human. You could believe they're demons, but I don't find it a coincidence that demons and angels are exactly what we are on Venus. Mm-mm. We've been talking a lot about the unconscious becoming conscious. Well, in your unconscious, people, human beings, don't have genitals and um, they do not die. This is what they say about angels. And you're going to tell me, you are going to try to tell me to my face. There's our belief in eternal true love falls under the blanket universal religion of astrology. The universal religion of astrology, that we're all a little piece of the puzzle and stuff, is astrology. And the beauty that this can never be taken away from you. No one can take your birth chart away from you. The first thing we do on Venus, because we're taught to, is look up our birth chart. We look at our date that we would have been born on the earth, and we look at our astrology and we're amazed. And we say, each Venusian child says to their parent, how can this be? This is exactly me. This is who I am. And you're just simply told it's the one true religion. Your true self's vibration is expressed through the actual rays of the sun outside of time, even. You don't even have to be in real time. And there's only one logical reason. Everything has already happened on some other level. You want to talk about ether and vril and magic that comes out of us? There's like a magic so deep, a lot of people don't even like to talk about it. And it's simply one part of our foundation, eternal. Okay, the trinity of words: eternal, true, love. Right? In Maria's class, she spends a whole class talking about exactly what eternal means, without beginning, without end. And that's what you are. What am I? Right? Who am I? What am I? What am I? You are eternal. And okay, in one word, eternal. In two words, eternal energy. And those are both two steps down from something indescribable. Really? Joseph, you can't describe yourself? Nope. That's why my true self was like an invisible energy man. Because my true self is like, how dare you? I look like you. And I'm like, but I want to be sure. And he's like, look in the mirror. I swear to the gods, one of the greatest things that I ever found out was that my eternal true self had a sense of humor. Dude, he thought I was hilarious. I was hilarious to him. My amazement, my complete total amazement that he was, God basically. And you have to get this. You have an inner world. You like to construct it and shit. You like to play Dungeons and Dragons and shit. This is just a common like metaphor. God is, all powerful, all knowing. We all know that we are this over ourselves. And do you logically understand that means there can't be a God outside of it? You can't be like, oh no, we're the little piece of the big God. No, we're not. If you think that, it's because you're still caught in what you were born into. You still think you were chosen, that you're better than all of us, and you have some supernatural connection to some being that we just don't know. Me and Maria, we just don't know what we're talking about. People like, God led me in my research. I know, while your neighbor's kid exploded with a fucking tumor. I know God thought it was more important to give you a revelation on vaccines or whatever. I'm not downplaying any, true knowledge, but to try to say that it's God makes you stupid. It makes you ridiculous. Just stop. All of our people, stop talking about this because it just makes you Jewish. It makes you a Jew, appealing to this false authority that does not exist. I just can't stand it anymore, of like the people are like, this is what spirit showed me. Man, shut up. This is what your spirit showed me. Quit saying spirit like it's bigger than you. It don't need to be bigger than you. You're enough. What you this is I mean, could there be a truer statement than Maria's statement through the marijuana plant to me? What you see in God, we literally know is you. We literally see it in real time that it's you. It's crazy that you see in real time. I have complete power over myself. That's why I do, that's why I'm lazy some days. is some other power in me is like, no, I don't want to do anything. And for real. And it can get to a depressive state. And your true self wants you to, I'm telling you, there's a place where you're like, dude, my true self's putting me through this. None of it's a coincidence. I have the power to do something back about it. And to bring it full circle in front of other people makes you vulnerable, makes it so where people can be like, oh, well, Mr. Super Spiritual, he's too good to believe in God. No, check this out. This is what we believe in. We believe that eternal true love means no matter how far you get lost in life or death, you think you can't remember shit now? Wait till you die. I'm not trying to scare you. I don't want you to be scared. I want you to die willingly and know that it's nothing, that it's peaceful, that it's okay, that it's a day. It's one day in a million zillion, but it's a transformation that can be beautiful. And check this out. If you have faith in our religion instead of stupid ass God and Jesus, to me, Maria Orsic as a person just is the light of beauty compared to Jesus Christ. The character in the Bible is just so gross. He's gross. I hate the people who are like, "Oh, I'm so proud of him that he went in the temple and he fought with Jews over money." Because listen, if he went into the temple and said this is all bullshit, he went in the temple going, "This is my father's house." Don't you understand? His father's house hates you, stupid Gentile. Stupid Gentile, you're not allowed in the temple because you're unclean animal. You're like, oh, I just love the Jews and how that other Jew who hates us, they all hate us. But I mean, I like how the one went in there. And you notice all through this story, Jesus hates Gentiles, but at the very end he says, and you think that this isn't like government propaganda. You think this isn't for money. You think that they don't have the power to change stories and shit. Why would you live your whole life like this? I'm a Jew, Moses, Abraham. And then at the end go, okay, now go try to make the whole world Jews. The only difference between Jesus is he was like, I created a new universal Jewish thing. Now go make the Gentiles into, these new chosen Jews. You're like, what? Joseph, you don't see the freedom in Christ. I know. Yeah, I know the freedom to only celebrate Jewish holidays and the freedom to forget and disrespect and dishonor all my ancestors that ever came before me for not believing in this all power fiction. And I'm Parsifal. I'm Parsifal. This God you speak of, where does he show his power? Show me where he shows his power. Well, he helped me find my keys to my car when they were totally lost. I prayed to him, I found them. All things are relevant, aren't they? All things are in the now, in the moment. Who, you know, fuck all. I need my keys to my car. What about the parent whose child's paralyzed in a one of those paraplegic beds, right? What about the parent that says, I'll do anything? I swear to fucking Jesus Christ, I'll do whatever you want from me to help this child get out of this chair. Let me tell you, it's not that he only helps a few. It's that he helps none because it don't exist. It's not real. That's what rationally makes sense. That's the equation is 0 times whatever you want to make it equals 0. But this is what our scriptures say, that if you have faith in eternal true love, you may get caught in the repetition of life, in a life. You may get caught in eternal return. But eternal true love is a window that lets in the person that can save you, your Savior, your personal Savior. Your eternal true love is your Savior in a practical, real way. And for me, I didn't know I was living in the matrix, all these repeating lives. And I would die, and I couldn't find what was missing. I couldn't remember the scripture that says, when all's lost, when you can't forget anything, when you can't remember anything or anyone, and you're at your lowest point, there will be a person waiting for you. In our book, it says, by a beautiful fountain, the he, she, the she, he will be waiting for you to tell you it's true. I would never forget you. I'm your amour. And when you're like on a special mission, the gods, they preface your trip to the matrix. They preface it with people, what we call a magic marriage. And because you can't get there any other way of what you are needed to do. So I had had that experience. I had remembered the magic marriage. And I was told, no, you don't have to choose between one of them. You three are one. And yet I read in our scriptures how the great ancestor says, is that 3? Or is that 4? Or is that 5? And yet you would think that would be the end. Here's the magic marriage. Here's the 3 or 1, the 1 or 3. You did it. You found them. And yet, it was the beginning. And I would, completely unknown to my understanding, be shown that these 2 women aren't who is waiting for me by the fountain. And it took years to sort this out because I had never heard anything like this. I had to see it first. I had to relive it and remember it first before I could understand it. And this next part I'm going to tell you was recent, was this life and this life only. So I had no idea what I really believed. It was all on the activation of these words. Only eternal true love is real. Everything else is an illusion. That kicked in a whole memory that I was totally unaware of, and a belief and faith that I wasn't even aware of. I had to remember what I really, really believed in. And that's when I was introduced to the whole mantra of remember, recover, return, which interestingly enough, just think about this, was told to me after I had already remembered the two magic marriages, which I was told, Joseph, you, I mean, I absolutely can't do what I'm doing right this minute without them. We are each other. Us three are one, and yet we were still missing. And just like I was told about the other two, that they need each other more than they need me, that also they love her as much as they love me, and they need her even more than they need me in this world. I was like, but I had never heard of anything like this at the time. I didn't know what she was talking about. I was just trying to understand, just I just was contemplating really the trouble that this is probably going to cause because people don't talk this way. You don't just show up one day and go, yeah, the Missouri River goddess told me that me and my wife are married to her best friend, a woman. Uh, and I think a lot of people's first thing is like, oh, so I guess your wife's a bisexual, or no, it's not really. It's not really um, thought of in those practical terms by Maria. All things are relevant. It's like a flow of a river of like, well, if this happens, it happens. It doesn't mean I have some strange philosophy that I hate men or I think I am a man. It's nothing to do with that. So I'm reading notes and I keep reading. There will be a person waiting by a fountain. And Maria said to me, that person has your soul. That's why it feels like it's missing. You know what I mean? That the person is one with you, even though you absolutely can't remember them. It's bleeding through the technology. Your mind is fighting and overcoming the techno control of information in the matrix. And I was just in a war with the Missouri River goddess and Yahweh, the God of the Bible. I know he's got other names, so we just picked Yahweh as the central name of Darth Vader. It's fictional, people. It's fictional. It's fictional. But you got to fight it down out of your mind because you were born into it, not because you believed it or you didn't. And this fight involved, of course, remembering all the times I had died before this. And it went on for over a year. And I am just reading this book, Notes, just amazed. And I'm like, just amazed. I was telling Mindy, I'm reading a book about what I'm experiencing with the Missouri River Goddess. And she tells me it's her very, very, very most famous, very, very most favorite book of all time. And that this is her author. Not only that she loves, but that she was giving downloads to when he was in the Matrix. And so I'm in the middle of putting together what the Missouri River Goddess is telling me. Because to get out of here, you're going to have to you're going to have to understand your life. You're going to have to understand what your true self was doing in your life. That's what your true self holds the decision to get you out of here. It's up to him or her. And she is going to say, you had to remember you had to come this complete to get out of here. And a big part of understanding was that you had been living and not remembering. Okay, now you can remember. You've had deja vus. You can remember, okay, I've lived this life before. I've got a little intuition and a little evidence that that's true. Now check this out. What even more important is to remember what happened when you died in these repeating lives. Well, I was shown that. And strangely enough, it had to do, and it was exactly Stephen King's The Dark Tower. When I completed the whole book, I was like, holy shit, I'm rolling. It's this person, this man. He was like the seeker of truth, no matter what. And he's just realizing that he lives in different worlds and astral worlds, and the whole thing is he's being followed everywhere he goes. He's being warred against by this one single man who's been like assigned to destroy him, to stop him from basically realizing that he is part of saving the world. That's what we're all a little piece of. We're all a piece of saving the whole thing from God, right? And in the Dark Tower book, he finally makes it to the Dark Tower. And he goes inside, and basically it's his life. And when he gets to the end of it, it begins again. And I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what the Missouri River Goddess has been telling me. That our lives are so important the first time we live them that they just keep repeating because we're like, this is the only one and I want to fix it, which is impossible. But understanding it can, in its own way, fix it. It may never change what actually happened. There's misunderstandings are the biggest culprit behind our deception, is we just didn't understand what was going on in the situation. Broken hearts, like we just didn't understand what was going on in the other person and what they were thinking and what they believed, even in their unconscious. So I am in the middle of remembering my own death. which involved several scenes, you might say, several experiences, all the way from, seeing Yahweh on the throne of the Christian church just totally as a Hollywood Satan, showing you that God is Satan and these people are doing everything they say they're not. They're fucking each other. They're having orgies. They're cheating people out of money. They're even human sacrificing people. They are even. They are harming children. They're ritually raping children and even sacrificing children. And it's enough to make you go mad. It's enough to just, make a person who has died, who's seen that, just say, I just want to get out of here. I just don't want to go back there. I don't want to be a part of that energy. And although we realize that in some way, after you die, in some way, even if you believe in God, you start to realize, dude, but God created Satan. That's what the Bible says. See, there's a new age God. He's not all powerful. He didn't create everything. He's not everywhere at once. He's not all knowing. And it's like, just whatever. But the Bible says God is God, that He created everything, the atom, the everything, the physical world, the spiritual world, the astral world. Your very soul was created by Him. None of that's true. There's no evidence of that. That would mean you're not eternal and you had some beginning, and that you could remember your beginning. I tried. Try to remember your beginning. You'll remember your realization that you're the projection of the true self and that you're eternal. That's what you'll remember, is like you'll be like, "Oh my god, I never really thought about it, but I've always been alive. I always have existed," right? And so I believe in my life where I was dying that I was remembering, and I don't believe I had any knowledge of the Dark Tower. I don't think I read the Dark Tower before I died. Matter of fact, according to Maria, I didn't. According to Maria, I died. I committed suicide right around the time that I did the first ritual, or right after. You understand what I'm saying? So the first ritual saved my life from myself. And I will have to say, it was done in a hellstorm of bad energy. I will have to say that. But it's okay now. Everything's okay now. Um, so I don't think I was aware of it, but in my memory, I went into a dark tower and I was taken in by like a superhero. Straight up, like, superhero costume with a mask, even a red, white, and blue mask, so I couldn't see his face. See exactly who it was, and I had already, um, by this time in my mushroom ritual, now I had already read the Dark Tower. But according to Maria, when I killed myself was before I read the Dark Tower. Doesn't totally matter. What matters is the truth to me about my own story. Well, in my mind, being up the observer, this guy that ran out of this giant tower, I said to myself, this is the superhero Roland, from the book, and this is how archetypes begin. He's a character. He's really Stephen King, part of Stephen King created him. He doesn't exist on his own. But in my mind, when this guy ran out to take me into the tower, I thought this was like my salvation, you know? When I died, I thought, okay, I did it. I found where I was supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do. Little did I know when I got into the tower, he was like, I can't help you anymore because each floor is another floor of your memories of this life. You're going to have to go floor by floor and re experience. Like he said to me, they speak of a life review. It's going to be a lot more than that. It's floor by floor. You're going to remember, basically your whole life. And I went floor by floor. And there was times I was laughing, crying, just like anyone else. Good and bad. Like I think I had a normal, pretty, you know, it's not normal, but normal for Earth childhood. Like I wasn't beaten, I wasn't tortured, there was nothing weird. My mom was just a dumbass. My dad really wasn't in the picture. My stepdad was, and I mean, he wasn't the most spiritual dude ever, but he was a great dude. I could never complain. But he wasn't studying Nietzsche every night and talking about philosophy and shit like that. So I'm, reliving all of this, and when I get to the last floor, it actually got kind of skinnier at the top of this tower into like a smaller little tower on top of the other one. I was way up high. It seemed like 100 floors high or something. And I've talked about this on other videos, but the last floor was just this room, this big room that was like a octagon. I think it had 8 sides, and it was like a hardwood floor, and it was 8 windows, and they were like the whole room was an octagon shape, and it was all mirrors. In between the windows were mirrors. The whole wall was mirrors and windows. So all I did was see a whole bunch of myself in there. And this is what Christianity does to you. It was like I had witnessed my sort of Rasta Christian life. And I know this sounds terrible, but I was just like, I hate myself. I hate my, and you're just primed up. You're just totally set up to repeat your life. The tower of memories was like rigged against me, and I misunderstood everything, blamed myself, for I'm not saying I'm not to blame for anything. I'm just saying it just was your typical sinner. I'm bad. I'm a sinner. When that's not the truth. That's not the real objective truth. Especially if you're doing the best you can, which I know the people around me are doing the best they can, and I know I am. Um, One window was open, and I was standing at the top, in the middle of this room, and I'm trying to figure out, like, there's no memories in this room. Instead of screens, like TV screens playing my memories, it's just mirrors. That's what I was thinking when I got to this room. I like climbed up like a ladder. It was like, and I like emerged up into this room, and I stood in it. It's like no screens, no more memories. It's just mirrors, just mirror after, just bunches of me everywhere. The ceiling even mirrors, and I just kept seeing one window open, I literally thought to myself, I don't even want to go over there because I don't even want to know how high I am. I can't. If someone told me today, like, okay, my office is on the 60th floor of some giant skyscraper, while I'd be in there, I'd be afraid the building was gonna fall because my mind don't like the physics of all that weight and gravity and shit. For real. I know that they can make buildings safe and shit, but my mind still is like you're up high and what goes up comes down, you know. I can do it. I mean, I've flown on planes before, but I don't like it. I fucking hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Um, and I kind of forget what's going on, and I start fixating on the open window and what it means. I'm like, this, obviously this is a metaphor. And I'm thinking from God the whole time I'm in there. I'm like a Christian, which is like super sad to myself now. To myself that's not seeing myself like all my memories, all my conclusions were like, I'm a sinner, I'll never be good enough. That's why I need Jesus to take my place because I'll never be good enough. I'm like, I was just rattled to know in my own mind of like, God damn, how could I be so stupid? Why do I believe this about myself? I didn't do anything that they're saying on purpose. It's literally like God invading your personal thoughts and going like, while you were masturbating, you thought about this. And I should have been like, hey, listen, while I'm doing what I want, it's none of your fucking business. Get the fuck out of here. The goal, I'm trying to be crude, but this is practical. The goal is an orgasm. What you think just inside of your mind cannot hurt anyone. And you can think whatever you want. You are free to think whatever you want, as wild as you want it. Matter of fact, other people like you for your wildness. I'll tell you that much. I didn't know that until I became an earthling, but it's true. It's true. It's like another level of magic, of authenticity, of uninhibited is the word that keeps coming to me. Right? And I was very inhibited in this whole thing of like, God is watching you, God is mad, Jesus had to die, like dominated everything that was in my memory of like, I just is like a literal, what they literally think of a demon. That's what God is, haunting. He's a ghost haunting you in your thoughts of like, you shouldn't think that, motherfucker. Go live your own life. God, why are you worried about what I think? Should have been my practical response, right? But so by the time I got up to this room of mirrors, I was a mess. I was a fucking mess, And I don't think that I was totally conscious that I was agreeing to be reborn into the same life and try to change it. It never, at least in my memory, it never was a completely clear conscious thought. The conscious thought was, I swear to you, this is how much of a mess I was. This is how much of a mess I was. I think I had already agreed in some way before I even entered that tower that, yeah, if I get a chance, I'm going to try to do better and correct my life. You just can't. That it's noble that you want to, but you just can't. It's what's done is done. You have to understand it, not try to change it. It's not going to change who you are no matter what. Understanding it will bring you closer to who you really are. But I was a million miles from understanding what I understand now, standing at the top of this like 1,000-foot tower, 500-foot tower. It was so high. And all of a sudden, a little blue bird appeared in the window. And it was like, you can be healed. You can be healed if you have faith. Do you have faith? And I was like, in Jesus Christ. And it was like, of course. Because it was sent to deceive me too. Everything in this is me, really. My true self really was after the truth without any censorship. Like it was willing to put me through eternal return to get the truth. And it never explicitly said to me that Jesus Christ was real. It just kept saying to me, do you have faith? Do you have faith? And I should have said, Jesus isn't a real person, so what are you really talking about? But it was myself. My true self was that bird testing the avatar, going, what the fuck do you really believe? All right. All right, deceived avatar. If you really believe that Jesus is God and you're a sinner and you're terrible and he had to be tortured by his father to uh, satisfy his wrath, do you really believe, Joe, that you have done things bad enough that God's so mad he needs to kill his son, which is a psycho, like sadomasochistic thing? It's like, you hurt me, so I'm going to hurt someone that loves me the most. And I, and I didn't know the whole thing, the whole myth of Father and Son and Holy Spirit, Mother. I didn't know it was Egyptian. I didn't know the true where they stole it from. I didn't know it was Odin. I didn't know it had to do with eternal true love. They completely, and if you don't rise up against this, you're crazy. If you're like, it's okay for some people to believe, no, you either believe in the truth or you don't. And I didn't, if I knew the truth, it wouldn't have happened. But all of a sudden, I found myself at the window, just telepathically communicating with this bird. And it's like the bird came like one step from like taunting me. You know, he was like, if you believe, Jesus walked on water. If you believe, you can float, you can walk, you can step out of the window. And then it started telling me, you won't be healed unless you put your faith to the test. This is so appropriate, too, that my true self did this. And I put my faith to the test. I walked out of that window and I fell like a motherfucker. I fell and fell. I felt like it felt like over 1,000 feet. And I was waiting for myself to hit the ground and die again. I was already dead. And all of a sudden, I separated from the floating self and I was seeing my mother giving birth to me in St. Mary's Hospital in St. Louis. And I snapped out of it. I said to Maria, you're exactly right. my life has been repeating over and over and over. I said, I guess I told her everything I've seen. And she's like, I've seen it through your eyes, even. She's like, yeah, there's nothing you can do as a teacher, as a friend. There's nothing you can do to reach the person to say, you're not a sinner. Don't do this. And like I said, I wasn't totally making a choice to be born back into my life, but it's like I opened the door and walked in, right? It's kind of like listening to the words of these false teachers. I don't care what supernatural fucking experience you've had. I want to know what you mean, what you're teaching. And if your teaching is God is real, angels is real, and man, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. For the last time, fuck you. Because this is the whole problem. This is the whole problem, is getting away from the facts. The facts of life always has been life fucking sucks for all hardworking average people. It's 90% work and the duty of eating, sleeping, and shelter. And you might have a tiny couple percent to what you can possibly figure out about what life means. And you want to tell me that God is love? No, you would make a lot more sense if you were like, in general, God is hate. I'd be like, yeah, I agree. If he could snap his fingers and just make a 6 hour workday or a 4 hour workday instead of an 8 hour workday, if he has the power to do that and doesn't, he sucks. Because then maybe I could figure out who the fuck I am. But while I'm working, I have to earn my goddamn money, which means put on the marketing face. What's good for business? And right in front of my eyes, I went from people saying that I was a hateful Nazi. I went from those people in 15 years, 20 years to flipping over to our whole country sold out to Israel. The Tulsi Gabbers, the Joe Kents, the okay, so that was my personal experience that my life is repeating. I probably wouldn't have really put it together, but I had Maria there to say, do you understand what you've seen? She said, this is my opinion. No one can absolutely be sure. She's like, but believe me, I am the world's foremost expert in this. You're looking at the Scorpio death goddess. I'm the goddess of death. It's a good thing you welcomed me into your house, Joseph, because then I'll welcome you into the astral world, right? And you, I'll welcome with a kiss. So I am like, dude, I'm trying to tell these people, this is why she told me to read Stephen King. I'm like, this is what's been happening to me when I died. And you can see it in people's eyes of like, oh, okay, you're being creative or something. I'm like, no, I am really remembering. They just won't accept it. They're like, if anyone's going to remember what happened when they died, if we're living in the matrix and repeating life, it's going to be me. Like, okay, whatever. That's a lot of people's attitude is, what? You think you accomplished something that we haven't? Hey, maybe I stumbled upon it. Hey, maybe I tried harder. I don't know. All I know is this is my story. This is what happened. When I died, I was being told by this beautiful river goddess, Maria, the river goddess. So, the Dark Tower ends. Maria tells me, yep, Stephen King, yo, author. My author, Miguel Serrano. I'm like, who? She's like, get a piece of paper, get your notebook. That's exactly what she said. Get your notebook, go ahead, write it down. Miguel Serrano. This was after her telling me, my teacher, my God, Adolf Hitler. What? Yep, my author, Miguel Serrano. Huh? Who's he? This lady? This famous bold faced virgin? The archetypal bold faced virgin? The most beautiful woman's face ever existed in the history of the world? Was telling me this is who I am. And so I started reading notes. I'm like, this is. I remember the first ritual saying I read like half the book. And I said, I agree with you. This is the best book ever. It just is the spirit of the time right now, Maria. And I had several supernatural moments while reading the book of like being overcome by emotions that didn't make sense. I would just start crying and I would feel just tremendously cleansed after reading the book. The first time I was telling people, dude, have you ever been high from a book? Like, this book makes me high. I'm like, this book. I remember telling Maria Orsic, no, I feel like I'm reading about you. You're Alwyn and Mindy's Alwyn and Joey's Alwyn. And I did not know. And she was looking at me like, but buddy, you've yet to remember who's going to save you. For real. I mean, this is my story. Maria did this. She prophesied it because she did it all. She did it in a mental plan for me because she loves me and for my sister because she loves her. So I think either I was on the last few pages or notes or I had finished the whole book. And I did this ritual. And, just like our normal shit, and the ritual begins like the one a couple months before. And I'm like, oh, good. This is what happened. I'm like, Maria. I was like, I know what this is. Because I seen the beautiful wheat field. I go, this is what happened to me when I died. This is what happened after I confronted Yahweh in the church because I didn't know I was dead yet. He's the one that told me I was dead, and he had all power over me because I thought he was God. He's Marilyn Manson, the universal creator of all things. That's what he looked like. But I'm recognizing it. And I'm interested. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy my true self is gonna say, is gonna show me and give me the knowledge so that it don't happen again. I'm fully conscious of this. And yet I got lost in the memory of it. I started getting all caught up in the beauty of the field and the beauty of the earth and like this like search of like, man, I just forgot that everything, and I was reliving dying again. I was just on this search of like, I'm here for something. I didn't even know what. I was like, I got to make it over this next mountain because on the other side of the mountain is what I'm looking for. I kept telling myself that. I got over one mountain. It was like all green. I was like, no, it must be the next mountain. So I had to walk through all that. And while I was walking through, I'm having all these memories and shit, you know? And I get up on the next mountain. I look over, I see red tulips, just a field of red tulips. I'm like, that's it. That's what I've been looking for. And so I get down in the tulips, and in my mind, I'm going, dude, this is it. This is where the superhero dude runs out of the tower. I'm like, there's a tower. There's a tower. Because it's like you can't see it when you're dead. And you're like, how couldn't I have seen that a long time ago? Look how high it is. Look how tall, you know? And you're like, why couldn't I see that, before? But now that you're up down by it, I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, why am I just seeing this all over again? And my first thing was like, okay, the flowers, they're too perfect. They're too much in perfect rows. I was like, this isn't real. My first time I seen this, I thought it was real. I mean, and this is really connecting with what actually happened. That the first time the first time I died, I had no idea I was living in technology. I thought it was all real. I thought it was created by God and all that shit. But this time, when I got down there, this time was different. This very first clue was these flowers are too fucking perfect. These are like digital. They're like digital. I'm in the matrix. I said that. I was in the tulip field and I was like, I'm in the matrix. Let me just tell you right now what Maria told me after. This happened the last time I died. So the last time I died, this is what happened. I swear this is your teaching if you want it. The true self, when it says enough, then enough is enough and it's going to end. I had repeated my life and walked out of that window hundreds of times, and if not 999 times, right? But this time it was different because the very first thought was, hold on, this isn't real. This is not real. And I was looking at the tower and I was waiting for the superhero dude to come out of the tower. And I just waited there for a while and I kept looking around. I did a couple 360s, like all the way around looking and going, I just get the feeling this ain't real. I even yelled out, this ain't real. This ain't real. I started yelling out loud. The flowers are too perfect. No flowers grow this digitally perfectly lined up. This is AI. And I don't know why, but the madder I got and the stronger I got, I started walking towards the tower like I was gonna yell at the tower. Like I wanted to get closer to it to be like, fuck you, tower. Fuck you and your illusion. It's all an illusion, you motherfucker. And as I was walking, I started walking. I almost got to like a middle. I did. I got to the middle row. There was a middle row between these rows of tulips. And I got to the middle row and I started walking towards the tower. And I believe the row that I was on, this little girl was running down to get to me, but I didn't hear her at first. But she's like 50 yards away at first. Like I barely heard like, Joe, like a kid's voice. And I just stopped and I literally thought, who's that? Who is that? Whose voice is that? Like, I know that voice. I got all happy. So I ran back like a couple rows and I seen her running down the row. And I just started running towards her and she was like running with two tulips, like holding them out to me. I'm going, Joe, don't go. She was going, stop, Joe, come back here, to me. This is the person. The fountain is metaphoric. It can be by the tulips. This time, when I died, a person was waiting for me in the tulip field, holding 2 tulips. And my very first thought when seen her and heard her voice close to me, it's crazy because it's just like Lou and like Maria. I was like, "Who are you?" And she must have been like 8 or 9 years old or something. And she was wearing like a beautiful white dress. And she had beautiful blonde hair, beautiful blue eyes. And I literally, in my conscious mind, I literally said, "She's nobody I know on Earth. She's from Venus. Like, she has to be. She is nobody I ever knew." Because my immediate feeling when I first seen her, my very first, you want to talk about love at first sight? My very first sight of her, a voice said to me, "You love her." And then when she got closer, I was like, "But I don't know her. I don't know who she is. I didn't grow up with her." I'm thinking in my earthly life, like, "Who are you?" And this is what she said to me. And I started to cry with joy uncontrollably from an unconscious perspective. Like, my earthly self was like, I don't understand why this is making me cry so hard. But it was like total cry of joy. Miguel Serrano has that quote that there's no higher feeling of happiness than after being torn to shreds, being put back together and resurrected. That's what I felt like. I felt like I was crying like out of the deepest joy that ever happened. And I was weeping so hard I couldn't in my observer mind, I couldn't really hear everything she was saying. So I had to like calm down, and I literally said to her, "I'm sorry, but what are you saying to me?" Because she's holding the flowers, and when I like calmed down, she said, "Joe, take take my flower. I was waiting for you. I was waiting for you." And she said, "I would never forget. I would never ever forget. I was always waiting for you with these." And she handed me both of the flowers. And she was like, "They're us becoming one." And I started to go like inside, but not with my mouth, like, "But who are you? Who are you?" in my conscious mind. And it's like I had gotten on like one knee and was like holding her hand. Um, and I'll just never forget, like like calming my crying and her saying, it all is real. It came true, Joe." Look at it makes me want to cry now. And I thought in my mind, what came true? And it was like she heard my thoughts and she said, "Miguel Serrano's book, the book of resurrection, knows we became we. I love you." And I was like, "Who are you?" I was like, "I love you too, but who are you?" She heard my thoughts and she said, "I'm your amor. No one could ever take this from us ever." And it made me weep with such joy. I could no longer hear. I just heard her say, like, "I'm your Alouette." And I had just read the book for the first time, and I was like, Alouette, Alouette is such a beautiful name, like, and I literally, like, I started to weep uncontrollably to the point of, like, my body, like, convulsing, and I left my body. Like, she, like, started to fade, like, everything started turning white, and I was like, "No, I wanna hear her. I wanna know what she's saying, it's important." But it was like I was being, like, sucked away, and I was trying to, like, hang on, and it was just making me weep more and more, and it was just like, "Shoo," and all of a sudden, I was just standing before Maria. I was standing, like, looking right at Maria, and she was like, "That's what happened the last time you died." And somehow I just knew, like, there's no use asking her who that girl was, that only I know for sure. That it's actually nobody's business. But ours. And even I felt that way. I felt like there's no use. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say to Maria, who was that girl? Because I do know. And I started just saying all this shit to Maria. I was like, it's all on the edge of our memory. The most important things, like they're not learned, they're remembered. And I remember just going like, you are the greatest teacher for me because all you kept telling me was remember. I was like, that was genius. And she said, well, it's my experience. Like, I know what it's like. I live here, Joe, half the day at least, sometimes more. Technology is blocking your memory. And the reason why, listen, nature used to block our memory through death, right? And eternal return. But now that we don't die on Venus, for you to enter a simulation and have, say, 10,000 years of memories from your life because you're 10,000 years old. Like, no one can hear me saying this, which I've been saying since 2011. You're a different person on Venus for one reason, one practical reason. You've been the same person for thousands of years, hundreds of years is even dramatically different. Okay, and we'll have us read this right here. The man from our scriptures knows the book of resurrection. The man picked up the flower because he knew that it had been left there for him. And on the stone he read the message: Come what may, I will proceed to walk the way of beauty, the way that leads towards the height that seems to touch the sky. Steep is the path, but filled with light from those that climbed before me, who left on every jutting rock a lantern glowing with their dreams. Aluin, on a plateau on the mountainside near the unattainable peak, lay a small lake and a semi-petrified forest of fir trees and tall pines. The water of the lake was partially frozen, so that in places one could walk on it. In this lonely, icy landscape stood a cabin. The radiant summit of Mount Melamoyu stood out clearly, leaning at a perilous angle. Although the lake was small, the man took months, maybe even years, to walk around it and reach the entrance to the cabin. He opened the small door and found himself inside a circular room. On the floor were deer skins and some branches from a cinnamon tree. The embers of a dying fire gave off a blue light. Besides it, dressed in a thin red gown, stood a woman. A headband of the same color held her beautiful hair back. Her hair, which cascaded over her shoulders like a golden waterfall. She looked at him fixedly, and he felt that for the first time he was being stripped of his ego. It seemed to him as if it was dissolving in a sweet emotional sensation. Oh gods, he said to himself, it is Aluin. For a moment, he lost himself in the magic of her eyes. Let us look at each other, she said. We are Hyperboreans. Let us look at each other. Where had he heard this before? Then the woman began to tremble, and he realized she was about to fall into the fire. He managed to hold her up. The earth was shaking, she explained. My horse leapt into a ravine. The branch of the apple tree couldn't support my weight. I was brought here by a miracle, carried on a ray of light, only because I had to wait for you. The fire, too, is burning out. He laid her down on the skins and making her a bed of cinnamon and fir branches, he rekindled the fire, which quickly gave off its blue-green light again. However, the room was not cold. The walls of ice, which appeared opaque from the outside, seemed transparent from the inside, giving a view over the lake and the semi-petrified forest. From which a distance looked like slender serrated mountains, and the white peak rising into the sky, the night filled with stars, and it was traversed by those musical lights which can read the thoughts of men. Her forehead was like the disk of the moon. Her eyes shone like the morning star, with a deep, dewy light. Her golden lashes were like petals which had fallen from the sun in autumn. When they were closed, it seemed as if the wings of the birds had shut out the light of day. Her neck was long, like that of the statues in the temple. Her delicate arms, her slender legs were like the roads that led us to and from the enchanted city. Her hands, with a tracery of delicate blue veins, stirred gently in the air as if weaving her dreams. Her golden hair floated in the breeze from the glaciers, becoming entangled in the branches of the Hyperborean oak trees, stretched outside beside the light of the green flames. She herself was beyond the god of cold and storms. Her voice was like music flowing from the depths of night. I saw you arrive riding astride an arrow, she said. Therefore I shall call you Avarice, Avarice, which is the name of the god of our lost continent. Avarice loved Aluin, the fifth born daughter of the city of transparent ice, which revolves but stays still. I have the power to put you in contact with your star. I am the roof which will shelter you from the storm. My love will give us peace and defend us from all danger. You will find peace in combat, but it will be I who will fight within you, and your bravery will protect us to the end. I am with you. I am you. My fate is linked with yours, and you will have no other real companion, now or in the depths of the grave. I will be constantly at your side.
In a world where shadows fall, the creek takes hold, it's hard to call. Little Sita, hear the cries, mother's wisdom, it never dies. We'll Sita, rise up unite, together we'll push back, ignite the night. No more suffering, break the chains, we'll shout truth, fuse the pains. Behind the smiles, they steal away. Innocent souls cutting their blade. Bright goes down from the broken dreams, but in our hearts we spark the flame. Freedom calls out from the dark. We will ignite, we'll leave a mark. In every heart, let hope her take flight. Eternal vigilance, gods arise.